Imagine spending like $200,000 on a university degree. You dedicate 4 years of your life to mastering this very specific field, only to graduate and find out that a completely free, globally accessible AI platform just trained 3 million people to do your exact job.
Right. And worse, from your perspective anyway, those 3 million people actually have the employer-verified data to prove they can do it faster and better than you.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the rather jarring reality we are diving into today. Welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
So we are looking at a stack of sources from March 2026. Specifically, there's this major press release and a really highly detailed white paper from EON AI Ventures and EON Reality.
Yeah, and if you're listening, whether you are prepping to pivot careers or you're just, insanely curious about the future of work, everyone is feeling this pressure right now, this pressure to stay relevant in the AI era.
Absolutely. So our mission for this deep dive is to tear apart this massive new initiative they've launched. They call it the Global Virtual Campus. We really want to figure out if what they're calling their third way of learning is actually a viable shortcut to surviving the massive economic turbulence coming our way.
And honestly, the scale of what EON is proposing here, it really demands serious scrutiny. We're looking at a platform engineered to provide completely free access to 9,000 full university-level courses.
9,000, that's just wild.
It is. But their end game isn't just to distribute educational videos, The white paper outlines this attempt to fundamentally rewire how global workforce readiness is monetized, delivered, and mathematically verified.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we get into how this new campus actually functions, we really have to look at the numbers in these sources. They frame the entire problem.
They really do. The math is staggering.
It's terrifying, honestly. The white paper lays out a reskilling crisis that is just tough to wrap your head around. They project that 75% of white-collar tasks are automatable by AI right now.
Right now, yeah.
And furthermore, 50% of entry-level jobs are at risk of vanishing within just 5 years.
Which is, those figures represent a fundamental, immediate restructuring of the global economy.
Yeah, relying on our current education system right now is like trying to win a Formula One race on a rusted bicycle. It's just not going to happen.
That's a great way to put it. The sources point out that this creates an unprecedented bottleneck. We're looking at a global workforce of over 300 million people who will desperately need comprehensive reskilling within the next 10 years just to remain employable.
300 million people. That's essentially the entire population of the United States needing a massive career reboot all at once.
Exactly. And relying on our physical university system to handle a crisis of that magnitude well, the physical infrastructure just cannot handle the volume.
Right, like trying to teach 1 million people to swim, but you only have one community pool and you're charging $40,000 for a towel.
Yes. That swimming pool analogy actually highlights the core physical limitation, but it kind of misses half the problem. The white paper breaks down the failure of our current systems into two distinct categories.
Oh, yeah, what's the first one?
The first, as you just mentioned, is the physical campus. The traditional university model costs between $40,000 and $200,000 annually.
Which is just inaccessible for most of the planet.
Totally. It is geographically restrictive, financially exclusionary, and completely incapable of scaling to meet the needs of 300 million people. But the second failure is just as critical.
Oh, you mean the online learning platforms?
Right.
Like platforms like Coursera or LinkedIn Learning, the ones that have been around for a while? Didn't they solve the scalability issue? Millions of people can watch those videos simultaneously.
Well, they solved the distribution issue. They figured out how to stream a digital library of content to a global audience. But what's fascinating here is the core paradox. We have digital libraries, but they don't produce genuine job readiness.
Because it's passive. Right?
Yeah, it's like the white paper notes a fatal flaw in that model. Passive video consumption lacks personalized instruction, offers zero real-world practice environments, and utterly fails to generate credentials that employers actually trust for high-stakes, complex jobs.
Yeah, because watching a beautifully produced video of a mechanic fixing a jet engine does not mean I have the muscle memory or the spatial awareness to actually fix a jet engine when the pressure is on.
Right, you probably just break the engine.
Yeah.
We have arrived at the core paradox of the modern knowledge economy. We have infinite digital libraries, more access to raw information than any generation in human history, yet they fail to bridge the gap between memorizing a fact and physically or cognitively executing a task under pressure.
Okay, but giving away 9,000 courses for free, which is the baseline offering of EON's global virtual campus, it seems like it creates a massive quality control problem.
How so?
Well, the source material states they're offering university-level curricula spanning 17 industry segments across 80-plus countries in multiple languages, completely and permanently free.
Yep.
If online video libraries are already failing to make people job ready, how does making 9,000 courses free actually solve the problem we just talked about? Isn't this just a bigger, shinier digital Wikipedia?
That's a fair question.
Because if everyone has the same basic information loses its value to employers. How does this get me hired?
You are hitting on the exact friction point that necessitates what EON calls the third way. The free tier operates on a very specific philosophical premise, which is that basic foundational knowledge should no longer have a financial gatekeeper.
So they're treating it as a human right.
Exactly. But Dan Lajerskar, the chairman of EON AI Ventures, argues in the press release that true workforce competence requires a platform where skills automatically translate into opportunity.
Right.
So the global virtual campus doesn't stop at the free library. They introduce an optional paid tier, which is built entirely around what they call an experiential layer.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. I want to dig into the mechanics of this experiential layer because when I was reading the white paper, this is where the platform starts to sound like science fiction. Except it's apparently live right now.
Yeah, the tech is already here.
The first pillar of this is the persistent AI expert mentor. Now look, when I read AI instructor, my brain immediately defaults to those terrible amnesiac customer service chatbots on banking websites that forget who you are the second you refresh the page.
Oh, absolutely. The ones that just make you want to scream agent into the phone.
Yes, but the sources claim this is functionally different.
The difference lies entirely in the persistence and the multimodal data processing. A traditional chatbot reacts to text prompts in a vacuum. The AI mentors on the global virtual campus are designed to track your cognitive and behavioral patterns over time.
So it's more like having a genius private tutor who actually remembers every mistake you've ever made.
Precisely.
It adapts to your specific learning pace, and it uses visual and auditory data to guide you dynamically. So like if I'm struggling with a concept in one module, does it adjust the pedagogy in the next module to compensate for that weakness?
But that is the exact intended mechanism. By following the learner across multiple courses and disciplines, the AI builds a comprehensive profile of how that specific individual absorbs information.
Wow.
But, the AI tutor is only the cognitive half of the experiential layer. The physical, or rather the spatial application of that knowledge happens in the extended reality, or XR laboratory.
Oh, right, the XR labs.
Yeah. EON Reality brings 25 years of immersive learning experience to this project, and they've integrated a massive library of digitized industrial and professional equipment.
And the source material slaps a massive number on that equipment. $53 billion.
It's a huge number.
But honestly, 53 billion sounds like a flashy marketing metric to me. How does knowing the virtual machinery is worth billions of dollars actually help the learner who is just sitting in their living room?
Well, the dollar amount is flashy, sure, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, it serves to illustrate the elimination of a massive liability bottleneck in traditional education.
Okay, what do you mean by liability bottleneck?
The real value isn't the hypothetical cost of the virtual equipment. It's the fact that learners are interacting with digital twins.
Digital twins, like exact replicas.
Exact functional virtual replicas of real-world machinery. We're talking about deep-sea drill rigs, advanced manufacturing robotics, fully equipped surgical theaters, and aviation control panels.
Okay, I see. Because in the physical world, you can't let a novice just jump into a multi-million-dollar surgical theater to practice, because if they make a mistake, someone dies or you destroy millions of dollars of equipment.
Exactly the point.
Yeah.
In high-stakes industries, healthcare, logistics, oil and gas, aviation, the training bottleneck is liability.
That makes total sense.
These XR labs allow for safe, infinitely scalable learning. You can perform a highly dangerous procedure, fail catastrophically, and the AI mentor will immediately reset the digital twin, analyze the telemetry of your failure, and guide you through it again.
So you can fail 100 times at zero physical or financial risk.
Right. Building genuine spatial awareness and procedural memory before you ever touch a physical tool.
Okay, the cognitive science behind building muscle memory in a digital twin is fascinating. But if I step back and look at this from a hiring manager's perspective, I still see a glaring issue. So what does this all mean in the real world? Practicing a virtual surgery is cool, But if I walk into a hospital or a corporate engineering firm and say, hey, hire me, I got a really high score on my VR simulation, security's going to escort me out of the building.
Yeah, they'd probably think you were joking.
Right. And the source material itself points out a crucial distinction. It says generic AI might deliver 80% quality, which is fine for drafting a marketing email, but high-stakes operations require 100% precision.
Absolutely.
So how does this platform prove to an employer that a learner isn't just really good at playing a highly sophisticated video game?
Well, if the credential is entrusted by legacy human resources departments, the entire global virtual campus model collapses. EON AI Ventures seems highly aware of this, which is why they built what they call the Integrity Suite and attached it to a highly rigid institutional credentialing ecosystem.
So they aren't just saying, trust us, we're a cool tech startup.
No, not at all. They are laundering the XR verification through established academic institutions.
Oh, so they're partnering with existing universities to co-brand the credentials.
Yes, the primary partnership highlighted in the white paper is with the University of Business and Technology, or UBT.
Right, I saw that.
And UBT is ranked number 6 globally for industry and innovation. By attaching a recognized university's name to the digital twin training, they bypass that initial HR skepticism.
That's smart.
Yeah. They offer 4 distinct certification levels, scaling from a basic certificate up to a master's degree, and these programs meet the standards of the British Accreditation Council.
Okay, but does a British accreditation matter if the learner is applying for a job in, say, Tokyo or Chicago?
That is where the Bologna process comes in.
The Bologna process.
Yeah, the white paper heavily emphasizes that these credentials are transferable through the Bologna process, which is an intergovernmental agreement that standardizes higher education qualifications.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that widespread.
It's massive. By aligning with this process, the credentials generated in the global virtual campus are recognized and transferable across over 500 universities within the European Union and the United States.
500 universities.
Plus, they offer a dual diploma, providing simultaneous academic and government-recognized qualifications.
Hold on, though. Even with international standardization, there's this term in the source, knowledge transfer efficiency, or KTE. They bring it up as their killer metric, but it just sounds like pure corporate jargon to me.
It does sound like jargon, I'll give you that.
Are we just talking about multiple choice test scores here? Because if I'm an employer hiring for a high stakes job, a high test score on a digital platform does not give me 100% confidence that the person won't freeze up when a real alarm goes off.
Oh, KPE is the furthest thing from multiple choice test. Think of knowledge transfer efficiency not as a static score, but as a comprehensive cryptographic data ledger of a person's exact physical and mental responses during a simulation.
Wait, really? A data ledger of their physical responses?
Yes. When you read a textbook or watch a video, no one knows if your mind wandered for 3 pages. The employer just hopes you retain the information. But when you are in an EON XR simulation performing a high-pressure task, the system is capturing telemetry.
Telemetry, like tracking physical movement.
Exactly. Where did your eyes dart when the simulated alarm went off? Did your hands hesitate before pulling the emergency pressure valve?
Oh, man.
How many milliseconds did it take you to recall the correct sequence of operations under a synthesized stressor? The KTE metric compiles all of this behavioral and spatial data.
That is incredibly granular.
It is, and that is why the white paper claims they are seeing performance verified at 5.2 times the baseline average.
Wait, 5.2 times. So they are learning 5 times faster because they are physically executing the task in a 3D space rather than just passively reading about it.
It is the difference between active spatial recall and passive consumption. But more importantly for the employer, the platform provides real-time reporting of that KTE data.
So it's basically a replacement for a resume.
It effectively replaces the traditional padded resume. Yeah. You are hiring someone based on where they went to school or how confidently they interviewed. You are hiring them based on an objective, granular data set that proves they executed a specific complex task perfectly in a high-stakes digital environment.
It just totally removes the guesswork from human resources.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, when you pull all these threads together, the magnitude of the shift becomes incredibly clear. Let's synthesize the journey we just took through these sources for you listening. We started with a staggering economic threat, right? 300 million people globally needing to be reskilled in the next decade due to AI automation.
Yep.
with traditional physical universities completely unable to scale, and traditional online video courses completely unable to produce verified, job-ready
It's a
skills.
systemic failure at both ends of the educational spectrum.
Exactly. And in response, the sources detail this third way of learning. It establishes a massive, permanently free library of 9,000 university-level courses, essentially democratizing baseline information.
But then it pivots.
Right, it immediately pivots, recognizing that in an age of AI, simply knowing things is no longer a competitive advantage. So it layers on these persistent, memory-driven AI mentors and an astounding $53 billion worth of digital twin XR labs.
And all of that telemetry and spatial practice funnels into internationally standardized credentials backed by the UBT and the Bologna process.
It's a complete paradigm shift.
It really is an end-to-end pipeline. It takes an individual with zero prior experience, allows them to fail safely in a localized virtual environment, and outputs a candidate with a data ledger, proving their exact competency to an employer anywhere in the world.
And this is exactly why you need to pay attention to this shift, whether you are an engineer, a creative, or entirely outside the tech bubble. We are moving from an economy that rewards what you know to an economy that strictly rewards verified execution. In a world where 75% of white-collar tasks can be automated, it's really easy to feel entirely powerless. But the mechanics of the global virtual campus suggest that the traditional gatekeepers, you know where you happen to be born, whether you can afford a massive tuition fee or whether you have access to a physical training facility, they no longer have to dictate your ability to survive in the knowledge economy. The tools to build incredibly complex, highly valued skills are becoming hyper-accessible.
But, that hyper-accessibility introduces a profound philosophical and economic question, and it's something I think everyone listening should really mull over as these platforms roll out.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if a system like the Global Virtual Campus can deliver 100% verified competency on a complex digital twin of a surgical theater or a deep-sea grill rig, and it can deliver that training directly to a living room in a rural town or a developing nation, what does that mean for the future of what we currently call unskilled labor?
Oh, wow. That is a heavy thought. Because if anyone can train for a highly specialized job from their couch,
Right. If the opportunity to train for high-stakes, highly specialized careers is universally available, perfectly scalable, and mathematically verified without bias, could the traditional barrier to entry for those top-tier careers disappear entirely?
the whole dynamic changes.
And if it does, what happens to global wage dynamics when anyone, anywhere, can instantly prove they have the exact spatial and cognitive skills needed to perform the most complex jobs on Earth?
That is a phenomenal, slightly terrifying question to leave off on. We started this deep dive talking about the feeling of trying to build a career while the ground shifts under your feet. But maybe, by shifting our focus from passive learning to verified experiential execution, we aren't just reacting to the earthquake anymore. Maybe we are finally getting the blueprints to build a much more resilient global workforce.
I certainly hope so.
Thank you so much for exploring the mechanics of these sources with us today. Keep questioning the systems around you, keep looking for those new blueprints, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.